Dr. Mulder. How you doing this evening, man?
I'm doing great. Can't complain. What can I say? But I hear that you've been experimenting with the latest, greatest machine here for magicians, and you've had
Yes.
some decent results. Would you mind telling the class?
All right. Well, here we go. The Genesis 2.0. So I had, right when I got it, I got to see how it had the extra extension in it and where you'd put the sigil for the entity. And I was really excited to, just immediately hop with it. And I wanted to do a working with King Paimon. And usually when I am about to do a ritual, I like to, sit in silence or sit still for, it could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, get my incense or get my black light or whatever the case, the vibe for the spirit, whatever. But this one, I was actually instructed by the spirit, just like, no, don't worry about all the extra stuff. Just get into the ritual. And I'm like, okay, this is really cool. So I put the machine down and I put the helmet on and I dialed in the helmet to King Paimon. And then I was going to draw a sigil and then do the gaze and all that. So as I'm like putting on the helmet, before I even draw on the sigil, like I'm already feeling his presence there. And I'm
Mhm.
just now dialing the helmet. And then as I'm drawing his sigil, he's like, just keep doing it. Like he's like, I know we're already in this evocation. I'm already here, but just keep doing the process for yourself. And that's usually what I feel like working with entities it is. It's more so they don't need the candle, they don't need this and that. It's more for yourself
Right.
and all that. So then I put his sigil on that plate, and as I'm dialing the machine, it already felt like I was in the meeting of the minds where I was like in the amazing like deserts, and he was there, and all of his army and everything else that's with him. Yeah, magician's army, whatever the case. And as I'm dialing the machine, it was to the point where sometimes you have to use your imagination, and then all of a sudden creation of the mind, you and the spirit have this
Hmm.
atmosphere, his look, her look, whatever it may be. But I didn't even feel as if I had to use any of that. Like as from the helmet to then drawing the sigil to then using the machine, I was already in that place, and the machine just set it off to a whole new level. So once everything was all dialed in, I was in a place it would have felt like I would have had to do 30 minutes of meditation or a big breathing exercise of getting my mind in a certain to be able to hit on this same conscious level. And all I had to do was plug in, dial everything in, and I was taken to that level. And I'm not going to say without trying, but really it was without trying. Like that's the only best way I can put it. So it was a very profound evocation, and I got so many amazing downloads throughout it. And I mean, I'm going to just tell the audience one, if you want abundance in your life, you have to be prepared for it. And like state out loud, I am abundance. I allow abundance into my life. And making statements is that because otherwise you're hoping and wishing. You have to be able to know you're worth it and you deserve it. And so that's a
Hmm.
huge thing from King Paimon, ring a ding ding. But it was just very, very potent and powerful. And then I had my candle on it and, did my whole put all my psychic energy into that candle to build a manifestation. And yeah, it's done now. I've just, it's just up on just as an altar. And when I have, the manifestations I desire, bada bing, bada boom, I'll go to my next thing. So, like, for me, it's already been, it's just been one working with the spirit. But I've already seen about two different steps just taken out of the whole entire situation. And I do believe that you need to take each ritual as a spiritual fashion and have it be special to you. But with these dials, the electricity, how it all works, it is almost a couple flips to the dials to be able to dial in what you want in your life and then just be
Hmm.
done. And it's really profound how powerful it is. And I really like what the other upgrade with the 2.0 is how not only do I have my desire and that's plugged into the machine to, place those pulsations out into reality, but then there's also the energy that goes to the entity. And so you have these two different streams of energy going out to build your manifestation, you and this entity, versus when you do something with, just a regular Genesis, it's super powerful, but you are only having maybe that entity shooting its pulse wave or you shooting your pulse wave. So I do see how the upgrade with this machine is definitely taking things to the next level, and how magicians can, use their own input to be able to program what they want and just make things go wild. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to keep doing experiments and everything, but it's been awesome, man. It's been really awesome.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, I have another magician. It goes by the name of Steven, and I've been working on the same stuff, using radionics. So, like I said, you two guys have been basically, I wouldn't call you guinea pigs. I'd call you more like pioneers in expanding this technology to the very next level, because that's what that machine was designed for. Yeah, it could be used for a regular, wishing machine or whatever, for manifestation. Yeah, of course, but I wanted to get that extra utility where you could, plug in plug into like your spiritual entity of your choice, and with very little effort and what have you. And you just proved it. You just proved that yes, the thing works as advertised.
Absolutely. And I was hearing a couple different people's podcasts, and then like could kind of bring up radionics a little bit here and there. And like with Charles Casimano, like talking about how you could have like a tin can or whatever. You could use whatever, and it doesn't need electricity to bring about the manifestation. And I do
Right.
see that as the divine will of the individual placing their intent out, because I mean these machines are an extension of us, so it's like, yes, you can do that. But when I'm finding, because I have the 2.0, I have the Mega, I have the Genesis, I have the Genesis 2.0, and I have just seen the exponential quickness and effectiveness. Like for instance, and I was gonna bring this one up. 5 out of 6 of my experiments have worked with stopping what the weather was supposed to do, and I've mentioned them on here. From the
Right.
rays, snowstorm, X, Y, and Z. But and this is also kind of halfway. This is a question too. We were supposed to get about 12 inches of snow. And
Hmm.
this was a little bit ago, just like, I don't know, a couple days ago. And instead of me using a machine right away, because I was doing so many workings, I was like, I'll just wait till, the 12 hours before to stop this whole wave of coming. And, looking at the radar and everything else. And I used it, but I used a Genesis 4.0, and I've usually used, I meant not the Genesis, the Witchbox 4.0, the Mega. And I usually use the Genesis, and the Genesis has not ever let me, never let me down. But with the 4.0, I did it 12 hours before, and we didn't get 14 inches of snow, but we still got really bad. In one day out on my job, I had it snow, I had it rain, I had it hail, I had ridiculous winds. It was the most ridiculous storm I've ever had, but nothing stuck, The next
Right.
day, it was cleared up streets and everything else, but we were supposed to get 12 inches. So it's not that it didn't stop everything, but I am realizing there is a difference between the 12-hour window with the Genesis versus 2.0 versus the Mega. And then there's also, I think, added in the calculation, and I wanted to ask you if this seemed right. If I would have a week prior, let's say I knew the storm was coming and I plugged something in, versus this 12 hours, 24 hours, that's like kind of last second trying to stop things. So you probably definitely would agree, like, it's
Yeah.
better to be preventative than to stopping the situation.
Right. Yeah. I would have definitely, for better results, if you've done it a few days earlier, yes, you would probably have a different results. But still, you know, the ultimate goal was achieved, where you don't need to have a massive snowstorm and you're like, having to drive through, icy covered roads or snow covered roads or whatever in your job. I mean, you were able to, persevere and get through it. I mean, yeah, it was crazy weather. That kind of sounds like Kuwait, that experiment in Kuwait where you were talking about that. Because that's what
Yeah.
happened there. It was like snow, then rain, and then, it's just, it was just a mishmash of all different weather conditions out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, what you did, that was pretty decent, I have to say. I mean, you know, yes, ultimately, if you had done, had, execute the experiment a few days earlier, yeah, you probably had different results.
Yeah, and that's really what I'm also just understanding. Like, time and energy are definitely a added part to the equation for the manifestation. Someone could try to be building wealth or whatever, and after 12 hours, they're like, "Oh, it didn't work." It's like, no, are you ready for that wealth? Number one. Number
Right.
two, do you not see maybe more ideas coming to you? Or think about those conversations and interactions. Don't have your head down and hoping that the frickin' someone's gonna knock on your front door to give you something. Like, this just opens up opportunity. And that's something with the wealth sigil you'll find on Joshua P. Warren's website. And I usually have that link down below, but I'll for sure make sure I do. I printed out his wealth sigil and I put it on a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say halfway through my day, it just dawned on me, why not use your machines to help make things happen with betting and money? And I'm thinking about, the casino type of idea was going in my head, thinking about Joshua P. Warren, and just thinking to myself, like, what could I do to cause this to work, to be in
Mm-hmm.
my favor? So after I did that, I now have that wealth sigil with King Paimon for just lots of different things in my life. But it gave me the idea. I'll get two machines, and when I'm watching a fight or something like that, because I don't really watch sports. I've never really been into sports, nothing along that line. And to me, it's whatever. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. But I thought, you know what? I'll go ahead and check out and see maybe if I have one machine to give, because I was thinking about the horse experiment, where
Mm-hmm.
you pump up one horse and then another horse you let them down essentially and be like, not as much. And so
Right.
there were two different fights, two different nights where I used a machine, and it was for the person that had the less favor to win, amplify them and then downplay the other individual and do that. And I noticed when I'm watching it, because I watched like their pre-conference where people are talking, and they're all pumped up. They're like, "Man, you're gonna bam, bam, bam!" And then
Right. Right.
I have watched a few different fights with certain individuals, and I see how they are in the locker rooms before. That both the people, I noticed when it has like the behind the scenes, they just seem like they're not amped up at all. Like, it's
Yeah.
actually it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But I was able to test it out on one fight where I didn't put any wager or anything like that. And I saw how it came through and how the fight happened and how they just it was really mind blowing. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I'll throw around a few dollars here. And I don't even know how much more money I made, but I basically multiplied my money times 7 that I put in, bought it because I put $50 on one fighter that was supposed to lose. Boom, the fight's over. Right when it's done, just turn off the machines, and just keep it going. And it's just it's really mind-boggling because when I'm seeing these people, you can just see it in their energy. Because I can, like, when I'm with people, I can see it in their energy. You can just tell,
Right.
and it's very tripped out. And I didn't know if you've ever done anything along those lines, like maybe someone a golf game, throw out their game, or is the horse thing really like the only thing you've kind of seen with that?
Well, the reason why I discussed horses was, they're the most uncomplicated thing to deal with compared to a human being. Is a heck of
Yeah.
a lot easier. But what you were doing there, I like. That was a good experiment because you're dealing with two people. You're not dealing like with a basketball team or a football
Yeah.
team. You got multiple personalities, multiple egos. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're dealing with just two individuals. Both are in the ring, and one's going to walk away a winner, the other one's going to walk away the loser. And so you were able to just focus on those two guys. And in a lot of ways, that's probably easier than a horse race, because in a horse race, I think it's like, uh,
8.
yeah, is it 8 horses in a
Yeah, I
race?
think it's like 8 to 10. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 to 10. I thought it was an odd number. I wasn't sure, but yeah, yeah. So you're dealing with one horse that you're wanting to win, and then you're dealing with the remainder, the remaining horses that you're trying to focus on, and kind of get them where they just don't really care.
Yeah.
And so yeah, what you did right there, I thought was excellent. I thought it was really great.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, that was something I was thinking too, because I was looking at all these things that I could like put any, wager on. I also do like if I'm gonna watch something, I'd like it to be entertaining, and I'm just thinking about gladiators, and it was just simplistic. You're
Right.
right, because golf, too many people, too many things, and then I started thinking, how many fights could I get in one night? But I know that wouldn't work because I just know it's not going to work because you might be able to get that one fight with the person that you did, they've had all day with the machine versus what, 20 minutes? There's
Hmm.
not much. So I've kind of understood that as well when it comes along with all that. And so and the thing is I'm like, geez, I got to go get more machines because the next thing I want is
Well, you just enough
rounds,
money to put
rounds.
down payment on it. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, sure. I'm more than happy to provide you with all the equipment necessary there, L. Not a
Oh no, I know this is the
problem.
guy. Everyone, get a wishing box for real. But I'm just thinking to myself like, if I had a machine, then what was set for on the third round it ends, and then it's TKO with this machine. I'm just thinking to myself like, man, I do all these specifics, and then you can dial things all the way down. And so then I'm really just thinking at this point like making income is as simple as clicking a few buttons, dialing a few switches, and at the end of the day, like this, I know this, people on the top are doing so much to take money, so much to put us down in these fucking
Yeah.
binds and make us slaves to the whole entire everything. And it's like, I'm done with that. I'm done living inside of the lack mentality for I am abundance. So what can be able to help that process as well as show people, you can empower yourself so much with these
Mhm.
machines. And I was gonna, I mean, I don't want to just jump, but I just jump like a chaos sigil. You
Mhm.
know, I have a sigil that I've created that I put on a machine because right now I'm inside of the Biggest Loser competition at my job to see who can lose the most weight, their percentage or whatever. And I don't know we're gonna win or whatever, but I made a sigil that's I'm going to win this competition as well as lose. I mean, be as healthier than I've ever been. And I know usually you're not supposed to talk about your magic and X, Y, and Z. I don't give a shit. I know it's gonna work. I feel the energy from it, and I put this thing on the wish box, and I tuned it and put my name on it. Tuned the dials, put the thing on over. I I'm just from diet to now getting myself, and I'm not going to the gym for the day. I'm just pumped up to get on the treadmill on
Mhm.
an incline and freaking do that. Tomorrow I'll do a massive run, eating way cleaner, and that's just making a chaos sigil where you can. It's like automatic writing. Just think about what you desire and just sit there and draw it up together. Now you can do the whole write out the letters, take out the repetitive letters, and make it. It doesn't matter. It's whatever
Mhm.
you want to do. What empowers you to be able to release that energy and place it into a symbol, and then you just add that onto the machine, and now you got double going the pulsation. So
Right.
now, like when it comes to the chaos sigils, do you usually work with a chaos sigil, or how do you like to work, or just use the box, or
Uh, so, like, with what circumstance? Like what you were trying to do right there, or
maybe I guess that might depend, like because it could be wealth, and you might just write something out, or it might be getting a Jeep, making a picture,
yeah,
like
yeah. Well, me personally, I guess I'm a little lazy here. I don't really use any kind of sigils per se. I have on occasion. I've been working on a few experiments recently where I was using sigils, but as you know, just for a majority of the things I do, like little simple things, working for a client or what have you, um, I just visualize what it is I'm trying to accomplish, and I turn the knobs. Use the stick plate and turn the knobs. I really don't use anything for most operations that I do. That's just me. But again, I've been doing this thing for thousands and thousands of times, and it's just gotten to the point now where it's just second nature. I don't even think about it anymore.
Mm.
But yeah, for what you're doing here at Chaos Sigil, yeah, depending on the circumstances, I guess with chaos, what are you trying to do? You're trying to disrupt something. You're trying to change something. I mean, what are you trying to do with that sigil? What is your intent?
I'm just thinking to myself, whatever my intent is. I guess the only reason I call it chaos is because the sigil itself doesn't have a structure. It's just your
Oh,
energetic imprint on it. You
right.
know?
Okay, yeah, you're kind of talking about like when Uncle Chuckie was telling me about how he makes his own sigils, like
Yeah,
automatic writing, that kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. It just looks like it really, there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no letters. There's nothing in it. It's just your
Squiggly.
subconscious. Yeah, exactly. It's just your subconscious interpretation of what of a physical representation of a particular energy field or a particular situation, and that's really all it is. And I mean, and again, it goes back to the operator. What does it mean to you? How significant is it to you as to how effective it is? And
Hmm.
um, and so that's where that's how I look at it. I've made sigils for a lot of people. I think one of the first conferences I've ever did where I actually spoke in front of people about this stuff was down in Puerto Rico for Joshua P. Warren. He was holding a I wouldn't call it a symposium, but it was more of a conference where we just had listeners and fans from all around the country and around the world, and they just all gathered in one place in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And as a little, not I wouldn't call it a door prize, but it's like a little present to everybody there for just participating.
Hmm.
I made sigils for each person for money to accumulate money, each and every one of them. And every one of these people, I don't know what the end results was, but they seemed like they were doing well. I mean, the people I've talked to, all in all, they've done okay. I don't know if they're multi millionaires or anything like that, but they're not impoverished, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. And I'm finding with wealth, it's not even sometimes about what you accumulate, it's how much you save.
Oh yeah, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. And I mean, this is just a small thing, but I mean, there was a game I was thinking about getting, but I really rarely have time to play any games. But when I do, I want it to be freaking whatever I want to do. And this game was $30 and it's 50% off, but I just kind of waited. I was like, I'll get to it. Whatever. If I have to pay 60
Right,
bucks for it, that's fine. And
right.
so last night, after I got done getting done with my betting and all that, and I got a great payout from it, I was like, "Yeah, I'll go and get the game." I get on there, and it's $9. It's a freaking even more saved, and I'm like, "Wow! All right, tonight is the Wealth Sigil. Everyone, come on
Yeah,
down, check it
yeah,
out."
yeah, exactly. And that's what the whole idea. Like, the Genesis 2.0, I did a show with J.S. Garrett about this thing, and he doesn't even have one yet. You beat him out, man, when it came to getting one of those machines. And and when I was on the show, I explained to him that I was working with several magicians, including yourself, on basically the research and development. And that's what I like about dealing with you, El. I mean, you're just one heck of a good guy. I mean, off the air, ladies and gentlemen, this guy he's just a damn good dude.
You're
And
awesome, dude.
yeah, well, same here, man. Like I said, and we're able to go back and forth and do research and development and say, hey, does this work? Or does it work? Do we need to tweak this? Do we need to tweak that? And working in cooperation with you and Stephen, for example, I was able to take this stuff to the next level. And again, the side note here is, I'm trying to fulfill Uncle Chuckie's dream, which is to integrate radionics with magic. Even though I'm not a magician, I just find it a great concept because I look at magic as the other side of the coin of radionics. They both work hand in hand together. It's like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
just works hand in hand together. And so, working with guys like you and able, to formulate and come up with new designs and new innovations when it comes to these machines and being able to do things that people they may have thought about, but they never actually did anything with it. Okay, that's what I really enjoy doing here. And like I said, the stories that you told that you just told the audience here earlier, that right there is proof of the pudding that it actually works. That we're actually, all this input that you and Stephen have put together for me and given to me, and working together in conjunction with with you guys. This is the end results of what we have now. And I think JS, when he gets that machine, he is going to shit bricks. He will not believe how effective this thing is, because like I said, instead of having to go, and the whole idea about this is to make things more efficient, to make things cleaner, instead of going through these ceremonies or these rituals that that you guys go with, that you guys do. Turn a few dials and you accomplish the same thing, and you save all that time and all that aggravation and all that prep work. Just a matter of just like I said, just tweaking the machine and then getting these kinds of results. That's what it's all about.
It shows for itself. Having a hunter killer system, I don't. It's so weird, Like I know if I ever get in a situation, I'm going to get out of it. I don't care. It's fine. But now with that on, I don't even feel like situations arise. Like things that I knew could have caused conflict, just nothing. And I don't want to be cocky in my life.
No.
I'm not trying to go out of my way, but also another part of me, just like it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be good. I don't need to go do a cleansing every single week. Because people can get whatever, they can shoot nasties, because once you're on the occult field or seen in any light, geez, celebrities, whatever the case, you got to have your protections up. And I love these boxes so much because they've helped me be able to exponentially take the things that I want in my life and desire to manifest so much quicker and so much. It's a flow. It's not just, here's the working, here's all that energy you put in, it manifests into this and the working's over. No, it's here's the working and here's the continual manifestations you're seeing all together. Like, and for me, like for the show I'm making, that machine, since that's been on, and I think I only have a 2.0 on for it, and that's it. And it's made tremendous. All people who are kind of rotten or we didn't need in our whole programming have been cast out. All the right people have come in. The right jingles have come in. The right things are coming. And it's no more of this person flakes at the last second. We have to pay this video guy, this, that. Oh, this person. It's only building something beautiful. It's that consistency. And at the end of the day, that's what these machines do. They bring consistent results.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And getting back to the hunter killer again, if the hunter killer does its job properly, you'll never know it's working because you don't have any problems. I mean, that's the beauty behind it, and it's kind of hard. People it's hard for some people to grab that concept. So how does it work when you don't? How do you know it's working? Well, do you have any problems? I mean, have you had anybody try to be a jerk with you or try to cause you any kind of harm in any way, shape, or form? If that ceases, then yes, it's working. I've had some cases where people, I kind of wonder, is it in their head or are they actually being attacked by some type of energy field or somebody's energy? And I have to look. Okay, who's attacking you? Number one. How trained are they? Are they really posing a threat, or is it in your mind that you think they are posing a threat? Well, if you're in your mind, you think they're posing a threat, then they're posing a threat. They're taking up, they're renting space in your head rent free, for free.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it kind of goes back to the operator. How mentally prepared are you to, jettison any kind of negative vibes, any kind of negative energies? Or what have you, to really cause you a bad day. How prepared are you to, keep things focused? And basically, when I walk into situations, Yeah, they may be a little sticky. It could go one way or the other, but I have to say 99 times out of 100, they seem to go my way, or we come to a mutual agreement where everybody's friends and everybody's buddies. There's no adversaries. I'd
Mhm.
rather turn an adversary into a friend any day than to actually have to fight them.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That's number one. If you're out here trying to make enemies, that's the problem. It's really about that. It in my eyesight, I see it as bringing that golden age here.
Hmm.
We don't really need all this war and innocence and all that. But wars can happen, wars will happen, whatever the case. But my
Yeah,
own life and what I can control, I don't want to have to enter into those situations. And like I said, like with my job, when I just got it, it was just constant battle. Honestly, it was constant battle, constant ritual to keep my job and X, Y, and Z. And since I've been now with all this war, with all three of those together, I don't have any issues ever. And I don't worry about a doggone thing, from the rituals I perform during my situations to having that on. I can
right.
just now be myself and be able to be more of my authentic light and have fun at work
Hmm.
instead of worrying about this, that, and the other. Because you know what? If they were to make an issue, well, those machines, what they do is they cause something else to happen that makes you basically invisible, not that big of a deal. And so
Right.
it's so preventative. And that's kind of where I'm like, you know what? If that energy was shot at me, mirror shield, it's going to go back at you, and I don't have to deal with anything. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. That's I had this one individual. This is one of those little stories here. Hopefully, I have a point to all this. I had this one individual who I don't know what was going on inside this person's mind, but they were trying to. Uh, anyway, he this person was in a position where they could, they're like a national broadcaster. They could, bring these people on. They were going to like, hey, you do a favor for me. I'm going to bring you on the show, and we could kind of promote your stuff and be like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, that kind of a thing. And and I found out from one of these people that was contacted that they were trying to get, I think it was like five of the top, what they consider the top remote influencers in the country, and they were concentrating on me to change my mind on something. And when I found out about this, I'm kind of an independent guy. I don't like to be controlled and manipulated by anybody. I like to think for myself. At least I think I think for myself. Um, but when I found that out, I immediately took a machine and I said, any one of you clowns come near me, I'm going to bounce this right back at you, and you're going to wind up in a really, really bad place. And what I did was I took a sigil for a Nazi death camp. And as soon as you come after me, I'm sending you right there. You can pick up all that energy because I'm going to send you straight to hell, pit of hell on earth here, buddy. You mess with me because I got to the point now where this became serious because I noticed I was starting to do things that I normally would not do. I would make decisions on things I normally would not make, and I
mm,
realized that somebody out there, something was happening, and they were trying to manipulate me. And this was this was I would say stalker territory, if not beyond. And I mean, how do you protect yourself? And that is what I came up with because I got to the point where, this was starting to affect me negatively in my work and my personal life and what have you because of this clown had some kind of I don't know fixation on me and trying to control what I thought. And I said, okay, all right, you want to play that game? I can play that game also. But something happened where actually I found out about what was going on from a quote unquote mutual friend as to this kind of a thing. And yes, I used a machine to prevent this kind of thing from growing and trying to take me over because this individual was really I mean, they would not let go. They
mm.
would not let go. Yeah, they were bound and determined to get me to do a certain thing or to make me feel a certain way, and I wasn't going to go there. Not this whack job. And so, but yeah, I'm just saying it's amazing what happens with these machines, what you can do with these machines, and how you can use them to protect yourself, to create manifestations of all kinds, including like you said, I love this this fight scenario, this thing where you did the fight. I think that's just perfect. That's exactly that kind of, seeing you perform that kind of experiment and getting that kind of results, and actually got a nice little monetary payoff for your efforts. And
Yeah.
and I tell you, I think you and I need to talk off the air because I may want to throw in a few bucks into this
Yeah,
scenario.
that's what I'm talking about, man. So, with the War Machine, so I've seen different things like work when it comes to, a jackass and you put someone on it and it fumbles them up. And so I wanted to hear kind of some cool things that you've done with the War Machine, as well as do you think that there'd be a difference in its potency if I use a different machine and use it as a sun, kind of like the Hunter Killer, as a power source to empower the War Machine in the manifestation you're going for? So kind of like, do you think that that would be something that would help empower it? And then what are some cool experiments you've done with the War Machine?
um, well, that configuration, what I probably do, War Machine would be the first machine. I would just get like a regular 9 dial machine or what have you, and use that as the power station. The War Machine itself, just I would, that way you can jazz it up and take it up a notch or a couple of notches. Uh, see, recently I had an attorney, a friend of mine, who's been using it like on district attorneys and judges. I mean, for whatever reason, the people are involved in the legal field really enjoy this kind of stuff. And hey, not a problem there. I'm more than happy to help out because I haven't seen justice in years, so
Yeah, no, no, duh.
I like to see what justice looks like, and so and that's what they're doing there. Me personally, what I've used it for is like smaller things, like when I'm dealing with people um, who were causing either myself problems or causing other people I know issues. I think I used to on the human. I dealt with two human traffickers. This was the second human trafficker I did that with. I think the first one was a experiment that I did in conjunction with JS when I first met him. But the second guy, yeah, I used a war machine on him, and basically I just took I didn't add anything to it. I just had a war machine. I had the name of the person that's involved here, and then I threw Michael in the mix, saying, "Hey, Michael, take care of this guy, whatever that. If he's the guilty party, just basically just get rid of this piece of human debris, or neutralize them, or whatever you feel is necessary." And that's the guy that basically his entire posse turned against him, and they started chasing after him for whatever reason. He probably shortchanged them on a deal or something, and they got pissed at him and decided that he was no longer going to be their leader, and so he decided to turn so the tables kind of turned against him. These are the kind of things I've used the war machine on. I know that Chuck has used it like for trying to start wars and that kind of a thing, and so it's kind of a
Oh, I was asked, and it's funny you mentioned mind control earlier,
oh,
and
okay.
so I didn't know what would you do if maybe it was you needed someone, one of your friends, to call you, or you needed that boss to give you the promotion. What type of things would you do with the Radionics box to help do a mind control?
Okay, the last experiment I really did, like with mind control, was a good friend of mine. She's an officer in the U.S. Army, and she wanted to get a promotion. And so she gave me a list of all the generals at a particular military installation, and that were going to be responsible for all this. So all I did was I took a helmet, took a machine, and I started tuning in for each individual general. And I just basically, said, "Hey, this person's the right person for the job. You need to give them a promotion. You will not regret it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just doing nothing but positive, things about this person. Just projecting nothing but positive things and how it would make their jobs easier, make their lives easier if this person gets this particular promotion. Get this rank." And that's exactly what happened. Within 1 to 2 weeks, they were able to get promoted.
Wow. Did you have everyone's name on a separate piece of paper or all of them on one piece of paper? And then on another piece of paper, all the positive characteristics and awesome attributes that person had?
No, I just basically just general, I can say that twice. Generalities of this person, and just just positive things projected toward, projected to the people that were in charge of saying yay or nay about this thing, and that's it, and that's what happened. And like I said, within 2 weeks, that's how they were able to get a promotion. And
Wow.
oh yeah, it's definitely this is things that I was able to do in conjunction with the helmet and a machine. And again, it's just one of those things where actually, you know, this is what I wanted, this is what happened, and
Mm-hmm.
within 2 months or within 2 weeks rather. And so that's an example. I think a good example of mind control. And again, being able to influence somebody who's a high-ranking military officer to do something and for an individual, uh, that's pretty massive. I would.
Yeah. I would say so. And the fact that there's more than one person, you didn't have one machine per each person. You just freaking had one list.
Yeah,
That's
I had a
now
list.
that
And I went
now
down the list. Yeah.
see now that is where th- that that's mind blowing to me because I understand how the box itself is a pulsator, shooting off all these waves and such. But the fact that they can have it for that person, and I mean, this is kind of a bonus question. What is that kind of like how the vampire box, the upgraded vampire box is? Because typically you could just have one person, but
Yeah.
then that one has four different plates, so it could be four different people or energies, sun, different planets, basically.
Yeah. Well, the way I understand the vampire machine, and again, this from Chuck, because he's the guy that inspired the idea. Um, the vampire machine is basically taking energy from one source, like certain, uh, uh, they may have certain qualities that you're looking for that you want to take from this one target, or excuse me, this one sample, witness sample, and you want to project it toward the target. And so it's kind of, I don't really look at that. I really don't look at it. I just kind of look at it as a way of just an energy transference. I don't look at it so much as like like the quote unquote wishing machine where you're actually turning a few dials for something specific to manifest. Yeah, with the vampire machine, you are trying to get something to manifest. Chuck, I don't know if he was kidding or not, but knowing him, he probably wasn't. He said he would get like a local kindergarten or elementary school, and he would take the life
Quiz.
force energy. Yeah, he'd take the life force energy from this kindergarten or whatever and project it toward himself.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
yeah.
That's
So I
Uncle
mean,
Chuck.
that's Uncle Chucky, and so that's what I'm saying. I think that's more of and I think it's a better illustration of what a vampire machine can do. And the machine that I built for JS, and again, JS was a super duper, he wanted the best, vampire machine I could possibly build. And that's what I came up with the one that I built for JS, and he sells over at Lawless Metaphysics.
Metaphysics. Yep.
Yeah, and so that one was where you take multiple sources and project that toward one target, and it's basically the end results. It's the same, but you're just able to add more things to the plate, and
Mhm.
and do this simultaneously. And I think that's the biggest advantage it has toward like the standard vampire machine that I
Yeah.
normally purchase or normally build. Hmm.
It's more potent. And
Yeah.
that'll probably be one down the line I'm definitely thinking about just because I do think that the regular one is
Hmm.
really good to be subtle, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like the Wish Box 2.0. You put it and project it at yourself, you'll probably be able to be fine to go to sleep at night. You do that with the Genesis box, I
It's a
don't
little.
think it's gonna be kind of rough to get to sleep there. In fact, enjoy being geeked up, you know?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm gonna tell you that that machine, that $12 machine, that was just one of those things where, yeah, I built various prototypes of it over the years, but as I was driving back from Las Vegas, I was on I-40, And I think I was going through Oklahoma, heading east. And again, if you've ever been through, the West, you can realize it's kind of desolate, and there's really not a lot there to keep you, keep you in awe. There's no mountain
Yeah.
per se. It's just like flat land, miles and miles of flat land. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I was just, thinking, okay, I wonder what new invention can I come up with? What new thing can I come up with? Design can I come up with? And that was the Genesis. And I remember, I think it was like either right before I hit Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, or right past Oklahoma City. I think that's where it finally gelled in my mind the basic layout of what I have today. I
Mm.
remember it, almost the exact moment. But that thing right there, again, the whole point of it was to create, just take this existing technology and just take it to the next level.
Mhm.
And like I said, as of right now, getting back to the Genesis 2.0, that was the same premise there. It was taking existing technology but taking it to the next level, and then this time specifically for magicians. But here's the beautiful thing about it: you can use this for anything. It doesn't have to be for magic. It could be for manifestation. You can do the
Yep.
same thing, and so it's just a it's just one of those things. What can I say?
Oh, definitely. You just that's the universal aspect to it that makes it so beautiful. It
Right.
doesn't. It's not just one type of spirit. It's not this, that, and the other. I feel like an experiment I like to do is do a higher self, and then make it see if I can't just connect with the higher self as it's almost like an outside person that I get to conversate with, and try something along those lines, And that's once again why it's unlimited possibilities when it comes to these devices and what it can bring about the manifest. Which brings me to this question: when it comes to manifesting, some people have been asking me, so is it kind of like a placebo thing, or is it something that can actually change the weather, or is it something that opens up opportunity, or how does this go about work? And I would love to hear what you have to say, and then I'll jump in after you're done.
Okay, sure, sure. All right. That was again, that's probably one of the questions I had for myself in the early days. And I was like, how the hell does radionics work? And I know we probably discussed this before in earlier
Yeah.
shows, but I mean, I'll rehash it just for the new viewers. It boils down to the double slit experiment. And I had to come up with a scientific explanation as to why these machines work. The double slit experiment. And if you do some research on this, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube. You can find, little 5-minute videos that are explaining how it works or whatever. But in a nutshell, what it says is that when matter is not observed or measured, it behaves like energy. In other words, it exists, but it doesn't exist. Okay.
Hmm.
But when it's observed or measured or both, it goes back to behaving like matter again. And in other words, just consciousness alone will change reality. It will change
Hmm.
the physical reality we live in just by thought, focus, and intent. You can
Yes.
change physical reality. And what these machines are, they're a tool for that. They basically, when you tune them, you're working in conjunction with a machine where it becomes an extension of your consciousness. And after you tune that machine, you're basically projecting an intent into the universe, into the ether, for a certain thing to happen. And that's what happens. Think of it as an observer. Okay, it goes back to the double slit. You need an observer in order to influence reality. Think of that as an extension of your consciousness, as an observer that's working 24/7, and in conjunction, because of that, is able to tweak or able to hack into physical reality and make things happen that normally will not happen. Now they can say, is it a placebo effect? Possibly. I've heard a million different explanations or opinions as to why this stuff works. But when you are basically sitting there and you decide, okay, just for the hell of it, I want to see if I can make it snow in a Middle Eastern country, which is literally on the other side of the world from me. Okay, all right, how do I do this? How do I do this? I'll make this thing happen. And then I turn a few dials And then not only am I able to make this effect happen, but I even try to go with a specific date. And this time it was around Christmas. I was 2 days off, but still was Christmas. It was the Christmas season. You know, it's on it happened on the 27th and not the 25th of December of last year. But a placebo effect, how the hell does the placebo effect work? I mean, I don't know if that's placebo. I thought that was an actual physical
Yeah.
results of using a machine and actually tuning it for certain results.
Yeah, and that's what I've now, I mean, I fully understand when it comes to as within, so without. Your psychic projection, it can create, it brings, it not can, does bring about manifestations in your life. So what is it? It's putting all that intent into crystals in a box that they can just shoot the frequency out consecutively, constantly. It's like you're in that constant state of mind and ritual, and it's being projected out, and then your mind's able to get out of that snapshot of that ritual and go about your business while that still projection is able to go. And if it can bring about the manifestation of stopping storms, and if it can bring about the manifestations of new ideas for things you're working on, or different ways of saving money, how you had no idea, it just so happened, then I personally think that it's not a placebo. It's just how is it going to change the practitioner on how they're using it? And are they able to pick up on what is being projected to them? Or are they just, walking face down, hoping someone's going to come up to them and give them $1,000? Or
Right.
or is it just like you said, you're driving your vehicle, you come up with the Genesis box while you're driving, these things just come to you, and then you take it in, and then you bring it about its manifestation instead of not
Yeah.
doing shit.
Yeah. I mean, in order for that, in order for me to take that idea, that's just on my mind and actually make it a physical reality, I had to sit there and build the thing. And, I couldn't just turn a few dials and say, oh, I want this to exist.
Yeah.
No, I had to physically build it. And that's what we have now is the results of, of what I did. And so is it like you said, is it a placebo? I kind of doubt it. I mean, you can think, opinions. Everybody has their own opinion about things, but for me, I look at it. How many times does something have to happen before it ceases to be a coincidence?
Yes, exactly. And that's why there's more than one person. My buddy was like, is this the only person that does radionics? I'm like, no, actually, I know quite a few people, and I know there's more people who I don't know that are using this stuff, and everyone is finding the same results on any information I find. Everyone has their own way that they use it because not everyone's a magician, not everyone's a lawyer, but we're still all getting results with this technology. So obviously, it can't just be some placebo because not everyone's a spiritual individual using this thing. They're just using it and bada bing, bada boom. Like you said, there's other people such as myself that are using it for spiritual means, and we're seeing results too. So at the end of the day, it's just an extension to be able to bring about greater manifestations. And this is the last question.
Sure, go ahead.
When it comes down to the boxes, and it like we said, it's like that frequency. Is there an actual frequency that it is that, like on a radio, for instance, could you pick it up? Or could it maybe, if someone was in fear that they had their box on, it would have some bad, the way I was questioned, radioactivity that came along with it?
Oh, have like a negative results
Yeah,
because
just
it's
because it's sitting there pulsing, yes.
Well, let's see, what's a good way to explain this? Well, here's the thing. I don't, in the old days, they had a thing called a book of rates. In other words, this is back in like the early 20s, 30s, that kind of thing, where they were using radionics and health. Okay, we don't do that anymore. We only deal with well-being. But back then, they were, you had physicians and that kind of thing who were using these machines, and they have a book of rates. And in other words, what that book of rates was, it would tell you the physician for each dial to handle a certain ailment or a certain issue that the patient may have. And I'm going to give you kind of a backstory on that. Because of that book of rates, they had to make sure that every machine was identical to the one before it. In other words, they would use micrometers, make sure that the wiring that was used was identical to the other machines, that all the components were identical to the other machines, the tolerances, that kind of thing. Well, I don't worry about that stuff because here in my mind, the way I understand it, as you progress, as things move into the future, the frequency change, circumstances change, whether you know it or not know it. Matter will change. This phone is not the same phone it was 5 seconds ago because there's new information on it. Hell, I just got like a text on it. So this phone is not exactly the same phone as it was 5 seconds ago because of certain other, outside influences. And so as a result of that, the frequency is going to be slightly different. So what I do is I tune the machine basically, on a case by case basis. I don't have a set of rates. That doesn't mean anything to me. I find it, yeah, it does have a use case for some of these machines and some of these technologies. Of course, I'm not poo-pooing any of it. I'm just saying for me, for my own personal work, from what I do, because each individual machine is, all the components are from one machine to another are not exactly the same. Because I'm using quartz crystals that were taken out of the earth. And these things are, if you ever seen like a regular quartz crystal, hasn't been polished or cut or anything like that, just a regular one's been dug up out of the earth. They come in all different shapes and sizes. They all have different variances. Yeah, they operate on a certain frequency, resonance frequency in the crystal itself, of course. But the point of it is the components that I'm using in these machines will vary from one to another. They're not the same. So because of that, I cannot have a standard book of rates, quote unquote. I just go with that individual machine, that individual circumstance at this particular time. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I want to do, and I tune that machine for that to happen. And now, getting back to, can I tune this thing incorrectly and have it do the exact opposite? It's possible. It's possible. I think even you said something along the lines of you kind of got the witness sample and the target backwards on a vampire machine one time or something. Yeah, and you really weren't getting the results that you wanted, but once you kind of
changed it up, exactly.
Exactly. So yeah, could it be due to operator error? It may not be functioning exactly the way you want to. Yes, a possibility. But for the most part, there's always, yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, just follow the instructions that, I provide or JS provides or what have you, and just tune the machine for what it is you're trying to accomplish. And, either using dowsing, pendulum, or just your own personal intuition as to where you need to set these dials. And I would say 99.9% of the time you will be fine.
And I absolutely agree with that. I've done each of those things, divination beforehand, and figure out how I internally want to do it, and just like the working going on back there. I don't know how long it's going to be on there, but it's going to be on there till I get that sealing, that omen that is shown to me that it is done. And that's something I like working with spirits, is because I could ask them, or I could just let me see the omen, and then they'll be like, all right, that one's done. That one's good right now.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to, there's an entity named Furfur who works with the weather. So I'm wondering, on my next experiment with the weather, what would happen if I use him in conjunction with it? Can I make it really ridiculous, to that next level?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, now how crazy do we want to make it? That's the real question.
Oh, I do know that a couple weeks ago it was snowing in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and it was also been raining and snowing over there in California. So I'm thinking some people, man, there's some boxes going on. It's box warfare, okay? It used to be the government controlling it. Now they got everyone else controlling it.
Oh yeah. I tell you, I gotta give my props to Stephen, because he was the guy that was working on that thing. And I think I mentioned this before. I talked to him last week, and kind of get an update on a couple of things, see how things were progressing. And he had basically there was a hole in the desert. Okay, this thing used to be a lake, and they had like a fire or a local town. And they had to drain the lake, and it just never recovered. Okay, it was just basically just it's just like a hole in the desert, literally. And he said it's been raining so much that you know now it's like past waist deep. I mean, it's like it's like probably like 3, 4 feet deep now. And
Oh
this is just
fuck.
from this. It's just from this season. Since he's been doing this experiment, I think since October of last year. And he told me that it's been raining like hell. Well, last week it was raining like hell too. He said they were planning on having another thunderstorm. And this guy is like 150 miles west of dead center of Death Valley, right in
Oh
the. Oh yeah, he's out in the middle of the freaking desert, man.
dude, that just that right there. That shows that you can control. People there were shamans who would do dances and their intent. And when I was reading the book The Alchemist, he does the same thing. It's his intent, and you could project that to make things like cloud bursting.
Right.
I've witnessed and done that myself. So this machine, it's just another level of that projection. And instead of you sitting there dancing for the next 12 hours to get that to change, you just sit down for about 10 minutes and then watch it change, man.
Yeah, I mean, most operations that I do it take me less than a minute. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, less than a minute. I mean, I'm doing something here that some magicians will be working. It'll take them what hours, prep between prep work and execution of the ritual or the ceremony. I mean, we're looking at a lot of time here. Instead of going through all that mess, it's just turn a few dials and in about a minute you're ready to go. Get a sigil or whatever it is that you're trying to a contact or you want to incorporate with this particular operation. It doesn't make that's up to you. This is a case again. It's a case by case
It
basis.
is. And it
Yeah,
honestly is to the point where sometimes I feel bad because it's so easy. Like
right.
and that's why I like to bring out and do my own extra little things, little snaz here and there. And sometimes, I'll do my whole thing without the radionics, but at the end of the day, I found I personally get the most pleasure on putting the peanut butter and the jelly together and
Right.
doing that. And that if I really want to make something happen, that's just where my magic's at. I'm
Right.
just like, okay, I need 12 operations. That's 12 machines. What do we need to have happen here? So
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to provide anybody with all the necessary equipment that they may ever want or ever need in their experiments. So, yeah,
Be sure to check out everyone below all the information to be able to get to Dr. Mulder, his email, as well as all the different websites with the different types of products. Some websites offer special, like the Pinnacle machine. That's on one that's not on Lawless Metaphysics. And the Lawless Metaphysics has Helmet, has Vampire boxes,
right.
Genesis boxes. And if you just want to hop in and really just start to use the regular machines, then just email and just get the machine, get it to what you desire it to be, and really go have fun with these experiments, everyone. Like, it's time for us to liberate our lives and our minds, liberate your mind, disturbed, and make the changes we need to in our lives. Because if we just sit here and just hope that everything's just going to magically land in our lap, you might as well just call it quits. You have to be a fighter. And
Yeah.
these things give you the personal power. So thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for once again
But,
coming on, man.
it's been my pleasure, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And I look forward to doing this again here soon.